Hello, my name is Katalin Kosoy and I'm the head of online threats for Bitdefender. Today I'm talk about social media threats and targeted attacks. I'm going to start with an introduction and I'm going to tell you that in 6 months to probably 1 year, classical malware, the number of classical malware out there will start decreasing. And by classical malware, I mean email spam messages and file infectors. The reason why I'm telling you this is that it's quite hard to write a classical virus, and it's also quite unproductive to send millions and millions of email spam messages, hoping that somebody will read it and purchase the product you are selling or visit the website you have. The new threats that are out there, you see, virus writers noticed that it's a lot easier to take advantage of the new communication platforms instead of working hours and hours developing new and new viruses and competing with all the security companies out there. So why not develop applications for either mobile platforms or for social networks that will incite users to install them and to actually infect themselves. For example, as you're watching this, another tab of your browser is probably opened on Facebook. On Facebook, you have friends, you are encouraged to pop into conversation, you are encouraged to talk to as many people as possible. Also, there are a lot of applications out there, some of them which are really, really useful, and some that are, just want to try. Or several games out there that are really, really nice and you want to play with. You probably noticed there are several applications that will tell you how many people visited your profile. The bad news is those kind of applications do not exist. It is impossible right now in Facebook to have applications that will tell you how many times your profile was visited. These applications, once you install them, will not only send directed messages to your friends, but will also send information extracted from your profile to their creators. And by information, I mean confidential information like name, email address, phone, and so on. What happens next is that using this information, which initially wasn't available for spammers or virus writers, you can use this information to create targeted attacks. For example, if you remember the Nigerian scams, they were saying there's somebody in Nigeria that is dying and he's an old relative of yours and he wants to extract money from his country and send it to your country. What happens if the email that you receive it doesn't start with dear email address, but it starts with dear and your name. And also the last name of the relative, it's actually your last name. What happens then? Don't you start actually asking yourself, hey, maybe I do have a relative there? The next way of malware spreading is context. Since you don't have to be extremely smart to write a nice malware application, and you just have to enter social media, it's all about being in the same context as your victims. If two persons are talking, are having a conversation, and you're coming in with something totally out of the context, you will get ignored. If you're talking about weight loss products, and you're sending a URL about, shipping, you will get ignored. But if you get in the conversation, if you pop into the conversation with something on the same context, people will say, oh, this is interesting, this is something what I'm interested of. So this is what happens on Twitter. You can see there are plenty of bots out there scanning for the trending topics. And once you start tweeting on something that you're interested in, something that you wish, you can get a tweet back telling you if you're interested in this, you can go to this website and purchase it from there. Which is exactly the perfect tool marketers always used to have to see what their clients would wish for. And spammers are doing the exact same thing, are seeing what you wish for and they're giving it for you. The same thing happens on smartphones, for instance. When you buy a smartphone, you don't actually buy it just for talking. You can buy absolutely any other phone for just talking. When you buy a smartphone, You buy it for the ability to have several applications, good applications that will actually serve several of your needs, like remind me when my friend's birthday is, or sync information between my PC and all. But since writing applications is open to several developers, not all developers are good. When you install an application, the first thing you will be asked is allow permissions. So you'll allow permissions to an application to access your SMS files, your emails, your addresses, and so on. Also, we've noticed that asking for permissions from an application is as similar as asking the user to read your end-user license agreement. Nobody actually does it. So they'll just accept everything just to move to the next space. So you will have games that will require permission to call people or to send text. And the problem is they can either text or call premium rate numbers, which will lead you losing money, or they can just take your information, your confidential information from your phone and send it to somebody else. And now we're talking about confidential email. We're talking about texts that are private and so on. So by installing an application and not paying attention of what exactly you are doing, you're giving away your personal information, which can later lead on to money loss and identity theft. The point is that, what I'm trying to make is that if the future of propagating malware is not into spreading from one computer to another, it's in social engineering. It's to convince people to use their application in order to steal their information and further on steal their money.